All right, everybody, welcome to Men on Purpose interview series here with Blake Doyle, brother. I haven't spoken to you in years. How are you? Thanks for joining
Good.
us.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It's been like probably 4 years or something. It's crazy.
Easy, easy.
Easy. So, for those who don't know Blake, he and I connected in Sydney, and Blake is, in my opinion, a man on purpose. I believe you're a man on purpose, bro. You have a beautiful young family that's brewing. You got a beautiful young daughter who's, you're navigating that as a new father, with your beautiful wife as well, Stacey, and you're an entrepreneur. You're building business online. You're bringing people together in Sydney. You created an event called Reconnect, where it was just connecting all these amazing people on a day out. And you organize these amazing adventures. So you're all about community, family, entrepreneurship. You have this amazing new social media online agency, which is helping people become leaders in their industry through storytelling. You've had a couple of videos go viral recently on your YouTube channel, on your Instagram, talking about Elon Musk. I've seen the other videos on Andrew Tate and these like funny little joke segments that you do that are like hilarious. So the
Oh, the cheesy dag jokes.
cheesy dad jokes. Oh, they're so cheesy, but they're so good. But the creativity that you bring to your work, you've always been really creative. You've been so ambitious, and you've always just really cared about about making it the best experience, whether it was the event or whether it's your content now, you're really adding lots of value. So I just thought, why not be a special guest here? So thanks so much for your time. The first question I just want to kind of start with is how are you? We haven't
Yeah.
spoken for a long time. How's US life?
Uh,
How's juggling
it's
family life during a COVID, you know,
dude,
thing?
like it's been different. Where do I start? It doesn't matter if I swear on this, does it?
Nah, fuck it.
I'm so used to it, dude. Especially in America where they're like, oh, swearing. And then when I first moved here, everyone was like, oh, just be careful about just don't swear and do this and like dress like a certain way. Like I go to no joke business meetings wearing this shit. Like for anyone listening, I'm wearing a Daffy Duck pink hoodie. And then I've also got like leggings that you would go to the gym in. But that it was just ways in which to stand out. And then of course some people at first they're like, oh, that's a bit weird, but then when people know I know what I'm talking about, they don't care. So yeah, shit. So the start of the origin story of America, my wife and I moved here June 2021, mid COVID. Had to ask permission from the Australian government to leave. Like it was like, yeah, I had to send in proof we weren't planning on coming back within 3 months. All this sort of crazy shit. She was 6 months pregnant at the time. Flew over. That was 3 weeks before Sydney went into insane lockdowns. And for me, being over here in Florida, where no one gave a crap about COVID, you know, to the point where it was like we came from Australia where it's like everything's locked down, everyone's tight, everyone's like worried about it. And then here it's like 15,000 cases a day, and everyone's like, we don't care. And so jumping into that environment, we're like, oh, this is what life's like just with COVID's normal. Like no one's worried, no one like it was fine. So then to see Australia go nuts kind of really like got me on the social media. Like I became a Karen because I'm like, dude, I'm on the other side. It's fine. But yeah, so literally like our story is kind of unique and kind of insane because yeah, within a span of 3 months, moved to a different country, knew nobody, started a business, which is just dumb, and started a family in a country where it's like, for context, I had to pay in terms of like birth fees and all that sort of jazz, the equivalent of about $10,000, whereas in Australia it'd be free. So yeah,
What?
yeah, it's
Why?
like it's America, dude. Nothing free. And
Wow.
that was after insurance. So after insurance was 5 to 7 thousand US. So I'm gonna put all these things on mute. I got two freaking phones going off right now.
That's fine. Can't hear it. All
Um,
good.
oh, that's good. Okay, good. But
Only two phones?
yeah,
No, just kidding.
yeah, one for the wife and one for the drugs. No, I'm kidding. No drugs. So yeah, so was doing all that while trying to, have this new baby. Everything's all exciting at the beginning, but then, reality sets in pretty quick with like, oh crap, I need to make money. We were lucky. The only reason I agreed to do the move was because we're staying at my in-laws' vacation home in Florida. It's like it's off the beach, so close to the water. Um, and yeah, so we could basically reset, and like I'm eating all my savings at this time. Luckily, I'd saved up 100 grand before we moved here. Um, and yeah, so let's see, how did I end up starting? The one thing I noticed, like with the business here, was I was telling everyone what they should be doing. Like make sure you're creating content. This is how it works. Blah blah blah. But I wasn't doing it myself, which is kind of weird when you're saying this is how you build a business and then you're not doing it yourself. It's kind of hypocritical. So it's kind of hard to tell people to get money, like to give you money. So I ended up starting a podcast because I was like, going out and meeting people, having lunches, the classic thing. And yeah, so because here nothing's close here. Like in Sydney, I'm so used to, if something's 20 minutes away, I'm like, bro, I'm not doing it. Absolutely too far away. Fuck that. Here it's like everything's 25 minutes away. If something's 10 minutes away, it's like, whoa, that's close. And so I was having had a bit of like this thought process is like, all right, I'm spending half an hour to go drive to meet someone, to have a conversation for an hour or two, to then drive back, and that conversation gone into the ether. Yeah. So I ended up going, you know what? I'm just going to monetize and like commoditize my conversations into content so I can then market it. And then that way they actually come to me. So I had people coming to me at my house originally, had cameras and everything, like invested 3,000 US into cameras and stuff so that we had the equipment. And then that just started a massive snowball effect because I was, getting a lot of people that are worth, 10 million to $200 million on my podcast, all local people. I wasn't trying to get famous people, whatever. It was just like get people that are known by other people on my podcast, and then have a content strategy attached to it. And yeah, I think I'm like 9 months in right now, but like I go down the street and people know me and stuff. So, and like not many of them watch the podcast. They've just seen the clips, but my clips are everywhere. And that's how the business started going off, which was good. And like the just as stuff was starting to go good, Hurricane Ian came through. So remember how we were very lucky we get to stay at my in-laws' house on the beach. 15 feet of water came through the place. Not our house. We got pretty freaking lucky, but still, it was like you can't explain it. You see videos, like I now understand why people just don't give a shit when they see a disaster. It's like, oh no, like I was looking at the content that the news was putting out and I was like, oh yeah, I don't care. Meanwhile, it's like we're walking down streets and there's freaking dead bodies of like, millionaire people just dead, and cars everywhere, boats. Like there was like this is a super rich area, but it's like there's Rolls Royces stuck in trees. There's a $1.3 million McLaren just sitting on a rock completely, it was underwater.
Wow.
Like billions of dollars of damage. And then, like I said, like there was this bodies coming up on shore because the water had taken them all out. And then as the hurricane settled, they started washing back in. So yeah, like, so just as things were getting good here, that happens. Luckily, my wife and daughter were up at West Virginia at the where my in-laws actually live, because the hurricane hit 4 days after Sienna's first birthday, and we've just been trying to get all that crap in order. And I've basically seen my daughter and wife total maybe 12-13 days in the past 3 months. So yeah, it's been like a whole new freaking juggling act of trying to keep the marriage going, missing my bub, keeping the business going, making sure the house is fine. Luckily, the in-laws are absolute beasts with everything, but it's just been problem after problem with that too. So That's why I said to my wife, I was like, dude, next year is going to be fucking easy. Like, I don't, you can say the joke, like, unless a hurricane comes through, it's like, already done that. Like,
Yeah, you've ticked
so
off all the hard things, and
yeah,
yeah, how are you supposed? Yeah, what do you
yeah,
compare to that? Unless there's like some, I don't know,
that's the thing. It's
alien
like,
invasion. So
yeah, it was a really weird experience because it's like, I mean, now when I speak to people and they go, I just don't know about having a kid. Like, what's your opinion? I'm like, dude, do you have a job? Yes. All right. And it's fucking easy. Like,
yeah,
because I'm like, I've been stricken, like, juggling three, four different things at once the entire year, and
yeah,
still I can swim. So
yeah.
anyone can do it. It's just you got to be put in those shit situations.
Well, I think that's an important point is that I knew that you were very is resourcefulness, right? You know,
Mm,
two people can experience the same experience or see the same incident, but handle it very differently. One person will be disempowered and stressed and anxious or potentially kill themselves. One person will see it as a gift and opportunity and empower themselves. I've always seen that, you've been really resourceful before all this as well, but of course you've handled
mm,
it. If you want something done,
yeah.
give it to
Well,
someone
it's about
busy and someone.
compartmentalizing. You got to
Yeah,
compartmentalize. There's good and bad in everything. Like, literally, there's good. My daughter fractured her arm at 11 months old. You
right.
know, um, people will be like, "Oh, you got to be careful." I'm like, "All right, one, okay, it's not Australia, so it wasn't free. It was freaking $1,000 US after insurance. That sucked." So that's another thing. It's like every time we start financially going well, it's like all these things where I'm like, dude, how do people? And for context, like my first year, we made over 100 grand in the company in US money, and we're still like, I'm still trying to chip away to get above. Where I'm just like, dude, how do people that don't make that money survive? But that thing, like she fractured her arm, and it was again like, you can look at it like, oh, we should have done this, and this. It's like, all right, yeah, we could have, but also we couldn't have. Like, she's a baby, she's walking at 9 months old, and just falls over, and it was just bad luck. There's nothing you can do to prevent that. It is. But what I noticed was when she got the cast off, when before she had the cast off, she would fall and just like, just fall and be like, fine, like whatever, it doesn't matter. I lose my balance a little bit. All right, no worries. But when she got her cast off, she actually was afraid of falling at the beginning, which meant she actually started practicing that when she started losing her balance a little bit, she would catch herself with her feet. So her having a cast on sped up her ability to walk and catch herself and like move her weight. That, I mean, at 12 months, dude, she was running like a kid. Like, so many people would say when she's walking in shops, that baby looks too small to be able to walk, you know? So again, it's like how you look at it. It's like if she didn't fracture her arm, yeah, she would have been fine. But watching that thing of her being scared now to fall actually sped up her learning process of how to walk, you know? So, and same with the hurricane. It's like, $2 down. It depends on what you look at. Like, yeah, it sucks. There's always bad things, but like if you looked at other things too, it's like we're so lucky in so many ways. Like our boat held on by one rope, and that one rope only let it come out a certain bit. So it smashed the shit out of our pool cage. But if it didn't, how high the water was, it would have smashed into our house, probably damaged the roof and done a bunch of other things. So that one rope held onto it because I tightened it beforehand. That's lucky. Somehow, because my father-in-law is so pedantic about bugs, the front door was airtight. So no water got in the front door, even though it was 1.5 feet of water just sloshing outside the door. Like, that's lucky. So all these things end up like there's still water that creeped in through the back, but because of all these other things, it worked out really well. So I was focusing on that because two doors down, that's also a single story home. we found out that we're actually elevated on a random piece of dirt. Like, I've never noticed that, you know, just my house was my house. But then 2 doors down, they weren't on that random patch of dirt, and they had 8 feet of water come through their house. So, you know, there's all these things that you can focus on and be like, all right, this sucks. I'm like, yeah, it sucks, but it's like, look at our neighbors, like, look what they're going through. But what I noticed too was I was looking at only the positive shit and telling everyone only about the positive shit, that it created problems with like my wife and my family back in Australia, because I was like, this is fun. Like, this is a really unique experience. Like, look, it sucks. Yes. But, you know, so you think I'm getting to ride Humvees and like military trucks to and from the checkpoint. Like, this is freaking cool. And I just, you know, I'm very grateful, but it ended up causing massive arguments with my wife. It caused a massive problem in my family, because I was meant to go down to Australia for my sister's wedding. They didn't think it was a big of a deal, even though I was going to spend $15,000 to fly there, you know, 5 weeks after. But the issue was, because I was just like, yeah, this is fun. They're like, well, are you coming? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. And they're like, we need to know. And then because I really was dealing with it, going, hey, I don't think you guys understand how fucked up this is, not realizing that's also my fault because I'm not telling them. I was just trying to put on like a face of like, this is fun. I ended up, because they weren't empathetic with my situation that I wasn't telling them about, I ended up telling them to fuck off, hanging up, writing so much abusive shit that I shouldn't have, because I was under all this stress, that I ended up getting uninvited from the wedding as a result, you know? So it's like, I've been hit by a hurricane, haven't seen my family, stressing through this, trying to figure out how to get to Australia for my sister's wedding. And then I get uninvited to the wedding, you know? So, but all these things had, you know, I had a part to play. So most people could be like, you know, F her. And like, we're still not talking, but it's like, I also know that it was both situations, you know, it was, my sister had stuff to blame. I had parts to blame, but, you know, learn from them. So
Yeah.
definitely compartmentalize and look at the positives, but you've still got to make sure like everything has 50-50 on both sides. Like, there's negatives on both, there's positives on both. And I've
Yeah.
had to learn the hard way.
Everything. Yeah, that's such an interesting perspective. And that you can look at that and review that. Yeah, everything has a place. And no matter how thinly you slice an experience, there's always, you know, pros and cons. And even the pros have cons and the cons have pros. So it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
you just choose the game you want to play. So yeah, those challenges, thanks for being so honest with that. Like, yeah, it's super challenging. And
Well,
I would
I
be,
got vlogs coming out, don't worry. I vlogged the whole thing.
oh,
It's
wow.
yeah, the first video drops on Wednesday. I think it's your Thursday, but
Yeah.
yeah, I showed my editing team and they were like, "Holy shit!"
Wow.
So
Now,
pretty
this is,
excited about that.
and I think this is the cool thing about what you're doing is like, yeah, you're just so real. And, you know, you've always had like a quirky sense of humor, and now you're doing little dad jokes and stuff. Like,
Mm,
you're being authentic and sharing that. For one, you have the confidence to be authentic. And two, you then are sharing it on social media, which is like quite confronting. So
hmm
have you always been confident with these parts of your personality, or like, how did you become so confident to then enough to be able to now do it on social media and be so vulnerable or share parts of your life that maybe some people keep hidden?
I think it's more. It's like it's a weird thing. It's not confidence and it's not lack of confidence. It's like this weird blend of the two. Um, I'm insecure because I want to show people and I want to be accepted for who I am. Now, the problem with that is when I'm not met, like it's very much like what the left seems to be going through right now, and the right goes through it often at times. Like, it's not a political thing, but right now it's like, accept who I am. And it's like, but you're kind of a fuckwit. Oh, you're bullying me. It's like, no, you actually are a fuckwit. You know, I was very much like that. And I still struggle with it at times now, which is like, and I know it doesn't seem like it, but it's because I guess I'm so confident now in saying I'm a flawed human. I'm figuring the fuck out, you know? But yeah, I put all my shit out there. And I think it's more about, for me, it's like I enjoy storytelling, and nothing is exciting to watch if you're perfect. So, people, for example, my family hates how public I am. Both sides hate it, you know. Now it's, whereas I'm more or less like, you know what, I love sharing my story in a way that's digestible, because people might be like, oh shit, like that's either fascinating, or two, like, oh, I go through that too. But I'm very, very aware that you should never be somebody who puts out your problems to seek acceptance. And the reason you shouldn't do that, and try not to, is because when you get that validation of like, you're so brave for telling people how fucked up you are, you start chasing that. So you keep fucked up. So like there's that saying, it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay not okay. Like that's your responsibility. And I think a lot of people forget that. So by putting all my stuff out there, yeah, it's I want to be somebody at times, I guess. But there's also, I think there's that other side too, which people have asked me this before, like, how do you deal with negative comments? I just had someone right now, like there's a comment right now. Hold on, what is it? Why do you dare put that poor baby on live when thousands of people from around the world to see something he had no control over? Some jerk didn't properly put on his diaper. Now your baby's gonna grow up with mental problems. I get shit like that all the time. So I just write back, I have fun. I'm like, okay, first, like I guess I've had so many viral videos now that you get used to people that you don't know splatting an opinion about you, that it's kind of fun, because I'm a big advocate for it, because you start realizing it's like, oh, this person is making an entire judgment of who I am based on a 10-second video. Are they accurate? No. So I just literally, before we were on, I was just responding because it helps engagement.
Got to get that algorithm going.
100%. Like that video's at 2 million now, but like I just wrote back, I'm like,
Wow.
first of all, you should never assume a baby's gender. She will be fine. She's not going to grow up being a snowflake. And basically, yeah, I just had a bit of a troll. But people always go like, how do you deal with the negative comments? I'm like, you need to get more. That's all you need. Like, you need people throwing shit at you for you to start realizing, like, and don't get me wrong, I went through hours and hours of my life trying to like win these comment arguments. You never do, whereas you start realizing, oh, I need these negative arguments, so I need to be grateful for them, as ridiculous that is, because without the negative comments and negative slander and stuff, not many people comment, and so there's no interaction in the comments. And so first of all, I'm like, sweet, someone's going to start arguing with me. I'll just have a bit of a troll back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Get some views. And then someone else will come in and be like, leave him alone. I'm like, sweet, they can take it from here. But yeah, you just realize, like, I'm going to forget who this Kelly chick is by tomorrow. Probably by the end of this call. And so I guess that's the thing too, that there's not an easy answer. And I think people try to simplify it, like, just don't care. But you've got to, again, it's compartmentalization of figuring out where that comes from. Now, when it comes from people that are close to you, that's hard. Comments on social media, that's fucking easy, dude. Like, again, I don't have no idea who Kelly is. Kelly, I don't even know where she lives, what country she's in. She could be UK, she could be Australia, she could be America, she could be freaking Bahamas, who knows? Whereas when it's your family, that's the one that's hard, and that's what we've got be going through now. Over here is there's all these, like, especially dynamic of a family, especially when the in-laws are involved, because I'm staying at their house, they see a lot, and they also don't understand what it's like going through now, where it's like house prices here increased by 200% in a year. So like, we're looking at houses now that I could get like before COVID, right now, I could afford an actual borderline mansion in terms of what I would consider a mansion. Maybe not MTV Crib style, but you know, a very good sized house and for real cheap. But now, because so many people moved to Florida and the interest rates are triple what they were a year ago, we can't afford even like a decent home, you know? And so you're getting all these other problems coming up where it's like, Blake makes this much money. How can you afford it? I'm like, dude, I can't. This shit's not. And then they perceive it as, I'm not taking into consideration what my wife wants. I'm like, I do. We're not there yet. And so you've got these other things that happen with people you do love, and they're just way off, and you just want to walk away. But the problem is, there's just this back and forth that you can't exactly just walk away like you can with comments. Like, I'll take negative comments on the internet 1,000 times over one comment from my family. Are you muted?
Yeah, I mute just so it's good for editing afterwards.
Smart.
But no, that's such a good point. I'm like, yeah, agreeing to, but I was muted. You're like, dude, you can't hear.
I can't hear, bro.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing, like, overall, just hearing all this, and obviously, yeah, this is a great perspective, because I think a lot of people don't start. And when they don't start, they're not going to get any negative comments, or let alone any judgment from their family. But when you do start, there is judgment from others, and it depends on how we perceive that. And so, yeah, when it's people close to us, there's more of that, okay, I really got to listen up here. This is really important. If it's just some random, like, who cares, so just keep doing it anyway. But I think there's a whole theme here, and like with what you've been through and knowing you in Sydney and all the cool stuff you were doing there, and now you're just gone like, going global with everything. It's like, it seems like you're pushing through and moving through because there's purpose. There's purpose for your family. There's purpose for your community, making a difference. So like, how important
there's also no way out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll be honest, dude. The amount of shit we've been through in the last year, if we didn't have a kid, it probably would have been over.
Yeah.
Like, everyone, it's like, if we're just being real, it's like sometimes there is just a case where it's just like, I haven't got an option to get out. And the funny thing is, when you haven't got that option and you come out the other end, you're so grateful. Well, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even explain the shit we've been through in the last 12 months. Where it is more like I'm surprised we're still together.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's that thing. It's like, sometimes it is that the little glue of the baby that keeps you together. Same as other things too. Like, I mean, I just spoke to Tanner Chidester. His podcast comes out tomorrow, so it'll be out by the time this is out.
Yeah.
And so in that, he talks about the first time he made $1 million in a month, he almost took his life. So for any Aussies listening to this, like $1 million US is like just short of $1.5 million Australian in 1 month. He made that at 27. And what happened was he became super nihilistic. And all of a sudden, like, you think you make $1 million in a month and it's like, oh, I'm going to be somebody. People are going to know who I am. Like, finally, people that I grew up with are going to be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But no one gave a shit. And when he realized that, when he climbed this mountain for so long, and so, like, working 18-hour days and everything, he just got very nihilistic and was like, well, what's the point in life? Like, cool, I make more money, no one gives a shit. I've got I'm at the point now where I make more money than I can spend, so what's the point? And so he literally went to Texas, bought a gun, and was about to take his life until the thing that stopped him was he had his 2 brothers that worked for him, 50 plus employees that worked for him. And he's like, if I take my life right now, they're fucked. And
What's going on, you purpose-driven human you? Thank you so much for checking out this interview. Zach Dean here. If you had any aha moments or questions, please put it into the comments. And while I have you here, I'd love to ask you a quick but powerful question. Do you ever dream about turning your passions and purpose into a business that helps people and makes a profit, but you don't have the energy or skill set or community or training to do so, then listen up. I've actually created this. This has taken me 10 years of working with over 1,000 people in the health and wellness industry. I've created what's called the 28A Club. These are 28 actions of specific biohacks that give you the optimal energy, focus, and results in all areas based on quantum science and quantum biology. As you know, the frequencies in nature, when we align to them, allow us to become our fullest version. They allow us to become a high performer. When we disconnect from nature, we become a low performer, and it doesn't help to activate our purpose in life. And so if you'd like to download this is a free copy. Go to www.28a.club/join and you can download it, join the club of us high performers, and I look forward to seeing you in there.
He even says on my podcast, if I was an employee, I would have done it. The thing that stopped me was because I was responsible for other people. And so there's that thing too, where it's like, you need to figure out ways in which that you become responsible, because it creates no way out. And that's what I've noticed, at least through my shit this year, on a relationship standpoint. The baby made a no thing out. Now, I'm not telling guys that are 22 to go get your girl pregnant. Don't fucking do that. But, just there's a lot of things that you need to have. Like, the more responsibilities you have, the actual freer you become. Big, like right now, it's like, it's funny, as I'm hiring people in my business, I'm hiring them based, like, I've got a 17-year-old, a 19-year-old. And as it's starting to grow, I'm trying to get faster, because for me, I'm like, I need them to make enough money so they can't go anywhere else. And so there's a race for me, because if they go somewhere else, now I'm fucked. I got this workload that I can't keep building it. I'm back to like, free. Like, I work 18 hours, maybe 16 hours a day anyway, and I don't want to, if that falls apart, I'm like, I might be fucked again in another way. So it's just constantly finding ways to create people that are reliant on you if you can. And that still can be family. Like, if you're close with your family, they're relying on you just to turn up to Christmas. Like, they want to see you. They want to hang out with you. There's always someone who you need help with. So yeah, that's also what helped me through a lot of the shit too, is having someone who's not attached to my outcomes. So I've got a really good friend back in Australia, and he's super successful. He's my age, 33. His business makes about $4 million a month US. But he's got the best. His advice is always spot on. One, because he's been through way more shit than I have on a business standpoint. So his awareness is very good. Like, extremely well. He can just summarize what I'm going through in one sentence and just hit it like on the head, and you're like, fuck, you're right, dude. But the one thing that's really good about him is we're very, very, very good friends, but at the end of the day, he doesn't care if I succeed or not. He cares deep down. He's like, I really hope he does, but he's not giving me advice to make himself feel better, which a lot of people will go to our parents, we'll go to our spouses, we'll go to our friends that are really close with us, ask them for advice. And the problem is, we're getting advice from someone who cares about the outcome too much. And that's a very dangerous thing, because, like, so for example, if I go to my in-laws and I get advice from them, I go to my parents, I get advice from them. Their advice is not always great, because what they care about is making sure that they don't tell me something where I'll make a mistake. They're not going to tell me to go take a risk, especially my in-laws. They're not going to go like, take some risks, Blake, and put your family's livelihood in jeopardy. Like, they're not going to tell me that. Whereas my mate in Australia, who is super successful, he gave me a piece of advice which was crazy, and it has changed my trajectory of my business. And all it was, so I was going around offering people 4 short form videos, like 20 seconds, 30-second videos for $1,000 US. And I was getting no's after no's. And he said to me, he goes, you're not charging enough. He goes, how are you going to make money doing that? I was like, really? Shit, okay. So I ended up increasing that to 3,000. At the time, it was 2,000 to start off with, and I did 8. I didn't give him the 4 option. I gave him 8. So it was 8 for $2,000. Got a client, and then once I got one on month to month, I just jumped it straight up to 2,600 a month US. And now I'm charging 3,000 a month for 8 videos. Now, for context, Australian conversion, that's 4,200 Australian for 8 videos that are about 30 seconds long. And I'm getting more yeses than I used to get when I was offering a third of that price. And what I noticed from his advice, like, he was just like, charge more, dude. Whereas most of the time, if I'm getting no after no after no after no, even though other people, they're like, well, he needs to make some money, they're like, we'll drop the price. He said the complete opposite. And what happened then was this snowball effect where, one, I was charging more. So I was like, oh shit, like, dude, I'm making more in a day's work now than I used to make in 2.5 weeks back in Australia. This shit better be good. But that just completely changed it, because I was like, all right, sweet. Now I just need 3 clients a month to be making 10 grand a month. All right, cool. How do I build from that? But again, it was advice from someone who only cared about the facts. He didn't give a shit about my outcome. He just cared about the facts. And it was the best advice I got, you know? And since then, he's also broken down other pieces of advice where I'm like, fuck, he's on point there too, you know?
Wow.
So yeah, it's all about always, everyone focuses on the negative, but I think on the positives too, it's like, really be careful about whose advice you get it from. And I've gotten in shit from my parents all the time because I don't take their advice. They're like, why don't you listen to us? And I'm like, well, have you guys ever started a business? No. All right. So I'm not saying your advice is worthless, but if I want to get to a certain place, I need to ask someone who's done it. And so, like, again, Tanner Chidester's course, I signed up for that. It was $14,000, so like 22,000 Australian, you know, like that's more than my car that I bought. Because I was just like, all right, how he has what I want, how do I get it? Now, the funny thing is, then I have him on my podcast, he has a lot of things that I don't want. And this was, but so people will be like my wife, she's like, you spent 14 grand and you've only made back 10 so far. And I'm like, do you know how much other shit I've learned? I'm like, all right, here's some things where he doesn't want to do blank, blank. I'm like, he's not happy in this. I'm like, oh shit. Like, I got so much more emotional growth from that, from a 2-hour conversation with him, you know, than I could have imagined. And I also got other advice about how hard he worked to make that money and what he did. But yeah, it's like you want to just constantly figure out where you can buy stuff, like figuring out ways to open doors, you know, with
100%.
the right people.
100%. You've touched upon so many great nuggets here, guys. I hope everyone's listening to this and taking notes. Like, what you're unpacking for people is you're in the trenches, so to speak. You're in your own process right now. And I know things have been challenging. Same for me with business. Like, it's never just like this. Like,
no,
this is what people think. It's just like, oh, I want to get to the top. Like, okay, then that, you know, that image, it's like people think success is like just this trajectory up, but it's like a scribbled line and up and down, you know.
Here's some perspective for people. The first quarter this year, I made the same as I did the last 2 quarters. So the first 6 months I moved here, months 7, 8, and 9, I made the same in months 1 to 6. Then I made the same it was 14 grand first quarter, 14 grand second quarter, third quarter, 32,000. And then this quarter I made 33 or something. Now, so I don't mean that to brag, but it's like, you know, the first quarter of this year, I made the same as the last 6 months. The third quarter of this year, I made the same as the first 6 months of this year. And, you know, next year will be even crazier, hopefully. But the best month I had was the month that I got hit by a hurricane. So that month was because, again, even though I got, like, my house is fucking smashed, I'm walking an hour and a half over sand because there's no road anymore. It's sand. So it's sand dunes. So I'm walking an hour and a half to my house to do 7 hours of hard physical labor of pulling up carpet on my own because no one was there yet. They're all in West Virginia. To walk an hour and a half back over sand to go through a police convoy, get harassed because they think I'm trespassing, to then I go eat, sleep for 7 hours at my friend's couch. Then I get back up at 6 a.m., drive. I would work for 3 hours in the morning in this office. I would work for 3 hours, drive to the checkpoint, walk an hour and a half again through sand in sun. This is summer too. So walking an hour and a half. Now that's 7 hours of physical labor, hour and a half, eat dinner, sleep. Did that for 3 days straight. Even with that, every time I got back to either this office or because there was no reception at all in there, like everything was taken out. In those hours in between, I am editing videos to get my clients going. I am then texting my other current clients going, hey guys, I know that everything's fucked right now. This is the time to make content, because one of them's a handyman, and so he's doing all these jobs. I'm like, you need to be documenting this shit. This is sick. The other one was a mortgage officer, and I'm like, if you guys are doing charity work, we need to document that. So let's go and do it. So it's like, I was literally doing all these things at the same time, and I had my biggest month while also having to personally demo a freaking house as much as I could. So yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it's not a brag, I figured that out because I had a family who needed money, and I was like, I don't know how much this is going to cost. I need to fucking bring in money now. That, there was something kind of freeing with that chaos, because I was like, because I had nothing else to focus on, and I think there's an issue with the internet right now where there's too many options. Like every second day, I'm like messaging my mate going, hey, do you reckon we could make because we want to make $1 million next year. I was like, do you reckon we could do this? Do you reckon we do that? Yada, yada, yada. Like, how do we, so we're always trying to figure out a new thing instead of just going back to the thing that's working. And so I think there's an issue too with especially people in their 20s, because in my early 30s, I'm still like that. And I mean, all through my 20s was the same thing. Like, we grew up through the internet. It's like, all right, this thing, all right, that thing. Oh shit, it's not working great. Now, yes, sometimes shit doesn't work, and you got to figure that out. Like, I mean, I almost started a business with someone here, and it was looking good, but the more we figured out we're going down, I'm just like, well, this is way too hard, and it's the start. So I'm like, it just isn't worth it. But sometimes there's two types of hard. There's ones that are just like, this isn't going to work, and you exhaust every option, and then just have like a decision where you're like, all right, I've got to get out. Or there's hard where it's like, this is fucked. Maybe I just need a slight pivot. There's a great book, don't remember what it was called, but it says, it's talking about, that the saying winners never quit is bullshit. Winners quit all the fucking time. We just do micro quits. So it's like, I'm testing this theory. All right, this, and this doesn't work. Slight adjustment. Quit that direct line. Go here. Go, all right, boom. Okay, that doesn't work. Micro quit. So, I mean, I quit daily on shit because I'm like, this isn't working, or okay, cool, boom, I'll come back to that. But this whole idea that winners never quit, it's complete bullshit, because if you are doing something that's not working and you're still like, I'm not going to quit, I'm a hustler, you're a fucking idiot, And don't get me wrong, even with my business here, my wife tells me I always quit. And then when I was here, it was at the point where it was just on that cusp of the third quarter. I'm working 16-hour days, making like $3,000 a month. Now, $3,000 a month sounds great, US, but when you got to pay for a family, pay for everything, because I got to pay for everything. It's not. And so I could see the eyeballs increasing. So like people knew who I was. I could see that momentum, but the bank account wasn't showing that. So my wife was like, at what point do you say it's not working? So my wife, who said I always change my mind and I quit, was getting scared. And I just said, I need you. So again, I could see stuff happening. She can't. So you have to go to these other freaking arguments of, just fucking trust me. And there's this point where you're just like, I need you to shut up and just don't talk to me for like 6 months, and then it started taking off. But even now it's like, oh fuck, now there's other problems. It's like problems never ending. It's just you try and always micro adjust them the whole time. Yeah.
This is so interesting hearing your process. And yeah, the fires never go out, right? The fires are constantly getting turned on, but then putting them out. Sounds like you're, really leveling up in so many different areas. But I think the theme here is that, the purpose has been brightened or turned up. The desire has been turned up because there's no other option. You've got your family, you've got these other challenges that are going around. And that's where it's like, what do they say? Burn your boats. If you want to, get to the other island, you got to burn your boats. And it's like, you didn't just leave Australia. You've had all these other baggage issues along the way. But you've had that purpose.
Put it this way. We spoke to a marriage counselor and I told her that story. I was like, we started a family, moved to another country and started a business in 3 months. And she was like, that people divorce over one of those things? And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
And like, I'm at least aware of the reality. I'm like, this is a lot to fucking deal with. But, again, a lot of people compare apples with oranges. So like I had people going like, certain influences, well, you should be able to afford a house in your 30s. And I'm like, I moved here with 100 grand, guys. Just saying, I had the money, but then I can't get a home loan. I can't do this. I don't have an income yet. Like, and then, all these other stresses happening. And, people were constantly, at least in my circles, comparing apples with oranges, like people were comparing West Virginian prices to Florida, going, just feel like you're overpricing it. Like, I just don't understand how a house can cost that much. It costs this much over here. I'm like, dude, that's 900 miles away. And so there's always shit you can deal with and that you're going to deal with. I wish it wasn't like that, but I've always just said, you got to grind through it until eventually someone goes like, always knew he was going to be successful.
And that's it. People see the success and they forget about the story, or they see the tip of the iceberg and they don't see what's really going on under the surface with the iceberg. So yeah, I think this is giving a lot of perspective to people that you work your ass off. So do I. I work more than I ever thought I would. And I don't see it as like work as much because it's purpose driven. There's a greater purpose here. And I've got similar things. I've either got responsibilities for family or land that I have now with like some bit of debt for some land, or whether it's my team and helping them as well. So it's like the responsibility is outside of me. And the more as a young kid, I had a lot of responsibility as well. So it's like, I feel like I've had this for quite some time. But yeah, if people are at home and they're like, oh, these people are so driven, oh, easy for them, they just got all this success. It's because they have a lot of responsibility and there's like a calling inside of them. There's this awesome quote. It's like, you don't just decide to be a leader. Leadership is a calling. You're called to become a leader, whether that's for your family or your community or the world or a vision, whatever it is. And then you had that such a great point. It's like, don't take advice from people that don't have the results that you want. And I've had that same chat with my parents. I was like, I appreciate you saying, and I'm going to hear it out, but I need to also acknowledge that you don't have you don't have the business, you don't have the land, you don't have the financial freedom. If it's someone who has health, I'm going to list, and has the results or has the money or has the result, then I'm going to like, okay, I'm going to listen to them.
It's like when you see someone getting trained by a fat personal trainer.
Exactly.
It's like you're paying that person. They got 180 pounds on you. What are you talking about? Like, it just makes zero sense.
Yeah, 100%.
And
100%.
a lot of people do it, man. A lot of people do it.
And then the other element here is like the money thing. I heard the other day I was at this event and someone said that last year 2 billionaires committed suicide. And if that's not
Were
evidence
they
enough,
crypto related though? Because that could be suspicious.
yeah, they were taken out. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure on that one, but like it
Had a
just
heart
goes,
attack in his sleep when he was 30.
yeah, his private jet failed. Yeah,
But
so
no, it is
it's
true.
this
It's like you
money.
need to work on the internal.
Yeah,
Sorry to cut you off.
yeah, go for it.
That was one thing from Tanner is you got to work on your internal constantly. And I mean, I do a fair chunk of it only because I'm obsessed with it. So like right now I'm doing this thing where I scatter plot. So I actually track everything I fucking do, how I feel as a result of it, what the outcomes are, optimizing. So like what time to wake up, what do I do, blah, blah, blah. How much did I achieve? Do I feel happy about it or what? And so as I start seeing a pattern, because when we remember stuff wrong, we remember everything wrong. I hate to tell you guys, you might think you have a great memory and shit, some of it you might, but I can guarantee you that, like, I mean, having a podcast, for example, I watch back that podcast and there's times where I'm like, really, I don't remember that conversation happening that way. Or you think like, oh shit, like I know for a fact I'm talking way too much in this podcast, but I'm the guest. Fuck you.
That's the
But
point.
yeah, but like you watch back a podcast and I think like I didn't really like me much, did he? And then I watch it, and I'm like, oh no, he was laughing at my jokes. Okay, he's interesting. So if I know that I kind of remember a conversation, how it really went, because it's all happening in here, it's all made up. How are you going to remember what happened as a pattern the last couple of months or a year? So by putting it all down, going, all right, when I spoke to this person, I felt bad. Was that an anomaly? All right, I've had 20 conversations with this person. I felt bad once. That's fine. I've had 20 conversations with this person. I felt bad 18 times. It's probably time to fucking move on. Same as work. It's like, all right, I'm looking at how many hours do I spend in my car? How many hours do I do doing these certain activities? When I edit 10 hours in a day, am I happy or am I pissed? All right, I'm kind of pissed off when I'm doing 10 hours. Sweet. Hire someone to do that section for it. I won't be making as much money, but I'll be happier because now while they're editing and I train them to edit, instead of me doing 10 hours, I'm doing 1 hour. And most people get pissed off about that 1 hour. Like, I pay them and I still have to fix it. Yeah, you just bought 9 hours of your fucking life. But what happens is, all right, cool, I just bought that. Now those 9 hours, where can I put them somewhere else? Into shit that I like, talking to more people, creating more content, finding more business. It's always trying to optimize my life in a very mathematical way. And the funny thing is, the more you do the mathematical way, the happier you become in the quantifiable way. So, I've found out recently, it's like, all right, well, if I get up and I force myself to do a 3-minute cold shower, I fucking hate it, but I'm up. I'm up half an hour earlier. I'm awake. I'm ready to go. All right, sweet. Do that every day. So right now, what we've been doing, I don't know if you saw on my Insta, last month I posted, who wants to do a 30-day challenge with me? Super simple. It's the rules like Atomic Habits. You have to train every single day. It doesn't matter if it's hard or if it's like, just go to the gym. Like if it's 20 minutes, whatever. Don't drink alcohol, and then take away one vice of your choosing. So mine, I was like, well, I eat pretty healthy, but energy drinks is a problem for me, and chocolate. So I can't do either of those for 30 days. Way more energy. I was drinking way more water. And I wasn't bummed that I wasn't eating chocolate. So I was like, sweet. So we did that for a month. Super easy. It wasn't trying to add 20 things. It was just boom. Now this month, it's like continue what we just did because we already got those habits, and now add something else to take off or add to your day. Now I know for me, again, cold showers. All right, I have to do that for 30 days plus everything else I just did. Everything else I just did is now a habit. That's fine. Add the cold showers. Okay. And then be in bed by 10 p.m. because I was averaging 11, but I wasn't working. So what's the point? All right, go to bed at 10. And now I'll do that for 30 days. And what I'm noticing is just by adding that one or two, like two things, like you add 2 things a month or take away 2 things that are bad a month. And that's 24 major adjustments in your life a year, which it's huge, dude. You know? So that's one thing I've started testing too, that it's shifting my life in a very big, purposeful. I'm a man on purpose, you know, like that's
Yeah.
yeah, but it's hard. It's fucking hard work. Like, I mean, I do wish people saw what I did in a day. Like, I spoke to a guy who I thought was super successful, and he is. But I was telling him what I do in a day, and he's like, "What the fuck, dude?"
Wow.
And I'm like, you know, he's like, "How?" He's like, you track everything, you do this, you're talking to a group, making sure they're accountable. You got a team, you're finding clients, you're editing this shit, you're editing videos, you're doing a podcast, you're out filming for people, you got a family, you're talking to them still, you have time with your, like, he goes, and you go to the gym every single fucking day and go to the sauna. He's like, how? And I'm just like, I don't fucking know. Like,
that's right.
You just eventually keep doing it, you know. But massive advocate of just like keep overwhelming yourself, because if you get overwhelmed with 5 things and then figure out how to do that, now you're not overwhelmed. Then you add a 6th thing. All right, now I'm overwhelmed. All right, get used to doing the 5 that you're used to, add another one. All right, now I'm fine with 6, do another one. And then now you can do, after 10 months, adding one more thing. People that aren't used to doing that will look at you and be like, how the fuck do you do it? And you're just like, it's easy. What are you talking about? You
100%.
know, but again, like success, people see you at the end going, I don't know how you do that. It's like, dude, this mindset has been fucking 15 years. You know, it's not like I just decided, which what most people do when they try and be like financially free, or they try and change their fitness and stuff. They're like, all right, I'm going to do boom, boom, and boom. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to quit in fucking 2 weeks. Like, I've seen it before. Like, just do one thing, do 2 things max. Get used to that. Like, but no one enjoys that. Like, I had that problem when I was a personal trainer. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to train 5 times a week. I'm going to fix my diet. I'm going to cut out this. I'm going to cut out that. I'm like, you're going to fucking fail. And I need you to come back next month. So how about we just come to the gym twice a week? Cool, twice a week only. And, you know, but some people are like, oh, that's boring. And I'm like, I've never met a person who calls himself, I'm an all or nothing person, who is successful. I've never met them, because the people that like, next time you hear someone say, I'm an all or nothing person, take note of who's saying it. And it's usually someone when you're like, hey, do you want to start this thing? And they're like, I'd love to. I'm just like, I'm an all or nothing person. I'm like, you're probably mostly nothing. You know? Whereas people that are actually fucking on it will say, no, dude, I'm just hyper focused. They don't call themselves an all or nothing person. It's like this weird bullshit excuse to justify our laziness.
Yeah, I think it's all about managing expectations. And I think a lot of the things we see around success, you know, we're looking at things on social media now, viral reels, Andrew Tate, you know, all these different things. We get like little bits and we create a story around it and we go, oh, whatever. And it's like, yeah, there's so much behind the scenes. So it's the consistency factor. It's the habits. It's the adding it one by one by one. You build a house, 1 brick at a time, right? And it's just 1 step at a time. So that's really interesting.
There's a really interesting piece of advice too from Alex Hormozy, and he says, it's to your point about, you know, people going, oh, that's easy. No one will say that what you do is easy who is above you. So it's always people that are below you who are saying, yeah, you've got this because blank. Yeah, you've got this because blank. Or it's easy. You got into Instagram at the right time. You got into YouTube at the right time. There are plenty of people that get into the same thing as successful people at the right time, but they're not successful. And so if you ever see yourself saying to other people, oh yeah, you got that because of blank, just know you're a loser. I know that's harsh for people to hear, like, but I used to be that person. I would justify fucking everything. My best mate, it's like, oh, his parents gave him $1 million to help him start his business. Like, that's why he's successful. It's like, no, turning $1 million into 10, 20, like 4 a month is not easy. It took me literally 8-9 years to figure this out. And this was one of my best friends. How's that any different from going to a business person and being like, hey, can I get a business loan? How's that any different? But if he did that, I would be like, oh, fair enough. He like swindled a guy and got some money, like good on him. But because it was his parents, I was like, oh yeah. And I realized I was a fucking loser, you know? And so I think that's another thing too, is like, if you ever see yourself saying someone else has something because of their luck, it's like, yeah, they had luck maybe, but also shut up and go and figure out your own luck. I can guarantee people like are going to say to me, oh yeah, the only reason you could do what you did was because your in-laws allowed you to stay at their house and they didn't charge you rent. You know, most people go like, oh yeah, that's easy. I'm just like, all right, dude, you start a family. I'll pay your fucking living expenses when I make it. And I want you to start a family. You have to go move somewhere else where you know 0 people. You can't have a job. You have to start your own business and tell me how fucking easy it is. And then a year into it, I'm going to make you not be able to see your family for 3 months, have to figure out how to make money. And then also your house is going to hit by a hurricane. Then tell me how fucking easy it is.
Bitch.
And that's not to brag. It's just like, again, like I had to go through that shit to realize what it fucking takes.
Mm.
And I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. You know, like everyone is telling me like, oh man, you're so successful. Meanwhile, I'm here like with my wife going, I'm a fucking failure. You know, like I thought when I make 10 grand a month US, I'm like, oh shit, that's like I made double this year what I made back in Australia last year and the year before. And I'm still like, oh shit, but now I've got all these other things I got to deal with. This is not enough money, you know? And I always thought like, you know, making 10 grand a month is crazy money. You know, like that's what everyone's goal is. And then you get there and you're like, fuck, it's not enough. And it's not enough in terms of, yeah, it's like, no, it's not enough because it just isn't. I thought I'd have money and I'd be like, oh, I'll give it to charity and blah, blah, blah. Every time they go, would you like to give to charity? I'm like, oh, it's okay. Like, you know, so it makes me go like, oh, fuck, at what point do I start saying yes? But then you realize I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Well, the world's different now, right? Our parents had it and their parents had it differently. They could buy a house, they could have the job and get the house. And now you need to have fucking 10 jobs just to maybe be able to get a loan to get a house. It's just like the inflation, the pricing, the whole system, like for sure, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
yeah,
Look,
and it's all relative.
But there's always ways you can leverage. You can leverage though.
Yeah. It's just all relative. And what it comes back to, the fundamental thing is they say the rich get richer. Well, yeah, of course, because they're smart enough to figure it out. And then they keep doing what works. And the poor people usually stay poor because they just keep doing the same thing. I think what it comes back to is how we think. How we think creates the habits, creates the words, creates our actions. You know, I've been really big on energy, frequency, vibration, studying quantum physics and all these light and the impact on our health lately, last few years, which I'm just absolutely in love with. But everything comes back to that frequency, whether it's you know, the repetition of the gym is a frequency. We're going with repetition of doing the work is a frequency in that, or training and boxing and stuff like that. Mike Tyson or Michael Jordan, they had a frequency of training of the basics that made them the best in the world. And what you said before, it can be kind of boring, you know, and it's like, it's just the same thing over and over again. But if you add more and more and more, and that's why if you add in purpose to the mix, then it's the little things, the messaging, driving those miles or going to fix the house and staying on a friend's couch, those things become less painful. And then instead of seeing them in the way, it's like they're on the way and there's a purpose behind them. So yeah, you've really made lemonade, dude. It's like I say that to people. They're like,
well, I've said
life?
it to
I said,
people
I'm
before.
just a professional lemonade maker.
Yeah, well, I've said to people before, I'm like, I feel like you also need a bit of a chip on your shoulder. you know?
Especially in
Like people,
America, I think, right?
I think just in general, to be honest, dude,
Right.
everyone that I speak to who is successful has some sort of a chip on their shoulder.
Right.
And so, like, everyone I speak to, whether or not, like, there's always that little thing where it's like, you know what, I want to prove that blank, you know, I want to prove, like, for me, it's like, I've always wanted to do it my way. My family's always been like, it's not going to work. And so I'm like, I'm fucking going to make it work. And so that's my chip on my shoulder that has always made me just like, no, I'm going to figure it out because I want to build something myself. Has that gotten in my way a lot of times? Fuck yeah. Like, but it's just, you just keep like, there's something. And to your point about men on purpose, how do you find it? There is no freaking way to find it. It happens. And I have no idea. Maybe need a bit of trauma in your freaking childhood. I don't know. Like, I mean, that helps. But if you don't have that, I don't know how to, like, for me personally, everyone I speak to has some sort of trauma. And this is the same thing as like, the more you speak to certain successful people, you start realizing like, oh shit, there's a couple of things I don't want. Like I partied with.
He's a legend. Love that movie.
Yes. So we were at, when I used to work in a bar in Sydney, he came out and after like we went to his hotel, hung out with him for ages. But after a while I realized like, oh fuck, I actually don't want to be you at all. Like at all. And it was, when you're editing this, you have to bleep out who I'm talking about, but a famous guy.
That's fine.
So it was like when I first met him, real nice, super polite, like, hey, I'm so and so. I'm like, I know who you are. But then as we started like partying and stuff, I realized we're hanging out because of the girls I was with. Then as they started, like he sort of cared, sort of didn't care who I was. And as the girls started disappearing, he was like, oh no, stay, hang out, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh, you're lonely, dude. And just some other things where I was like, oh, this is interesting being next to and hanging out with someone who I would be like, oh my gosh, like you hung out with that guy, to walking away going, I don't want his life. And yeah, there's so many instances like that where it's like the more you hang out with certain people of different levels of success, and also people like, I think every single person, no matter where they are in the food chain, there's shit you want and shit you don't want. You know, people that have nothing, there's an element of ignorance that is so blissful in that sometimes. Like if they're generally happy, like people that are happy living in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, just with their little cattle thing. I love that blissfulness that they have where they're like, you know what, I've got what I need. I don't need anything else. But then I don't want anything else they have where I'm like, I go fucking insane. You know? So I think for anyone who's listening to this, it's like there's so many layers of everyone that I think unless you start meeting more and more and more people and genuinely asking questions to go deep, which is hard, which is why I love podcasts, because it allows you to, it takes down that barrier. There's so many things that you want and you don't want in everyone you meet, which kind of gives you a bit more freedom to be like, okay, there's a lot of shit I'm not happy with. How do I figure that out and start carving out this carving of life? But also, what do I want? And how do I act towards that? All right, I want a certain amount of money. I want to, but you get to a point where it's not just about the money. It's like, all right, I want to be able to do this, this, and this. And I want money to be coming in so that I can do this, this, and this. How do I make that happen? So like, I love the fact that my podcast and what I do with content now, do you know how much shit I get for free, dude? I fucking love it. You know, like there's all that sort of stuff. So I'm like, why would I stop the podcast? I get to meet certain people. Like I had a guy on the other day and I'm like, I want BPC 157 peptides. And I want this other one that's like CRC something. And because I've heard about them for so long, I'm like, I just want to be able to boost my human growth hormone, stay younger for longer, and keep that youthfulness in. I got them on my podcast, One, they go, yeah, we'll hook you up. Give me all that shit for free. And then they gave me like other stuff. I was sick, and they're like, all right, here. So I did my first syringe in my bum, with fucking, what was it? Some sort of vitamin C, zinc, B, and other things. But I got better like that. They just gave that to me for free. And now they also want to do a podcast with me. And they're like, look, you have the personality for the podcast. Figure out what that package looks like. And if it happens, fuck yeah. If it doesn't, that'll suck, but whatever. But what I've noticed is the things that I love doing, double down, work my fucking ass off, figure out a way to build leverage. And then as a result, now it's like, it's cool. It's like, all right, hey, do you want, like, I wanted a hormone test. And one of my guests, he goes, I can do that. And I was like, sweet. How much is that typically cost? This much. I'll do a video for you. Sweet. So gives me that for free. I'm making the video. We're going to film the last part. And I'm like, that's all I have to do. And I get to save, you know, just short of $1,000, you know? But again, it took me 6, 7, 8 months of 16-hour days, you know, with a family to get to close to that point. Now it's happening. Now I'm like 9 months into it, 10 months into it. That now it's starting to really happen. I'm like, oh shit, how do I keep building this? You know?
So many great points. So many great points here to unpack. For one, my belief, for one is like, my belief is that we're all one conversation away from everything. Whether that's the really important conversation with ourselves to look ourselves in the mirror and like have that pep talk, or whether it's meeting the love of our life, one conversation, or a business partner, or a podcast. I love podcasting, and I've been doing this for a long period of time on and off, but just I get to meet the most amazing people. We get to catch up. We get to add value to the world. And, you know, I'm in network marketing. We met through Isogenics network marketing. And if it wasn't for network marketing, the industry, you know, and there's been ups and downs in, you know, my career or whatever, I've met some amazing people. And, you know, obviously people have a big stigma around network marketing. I freaking love it. We wouldn't have met if it wasn't for network marketing. I wouldn't have met my my last ex-girlfriends if it wasn't for network marketing, because I was able to travel and be in a different place. And I was in Dubai the other week, and I networked with the top of meeting like the top of the corporate team for Healy. And I got to meet one of the guys who was behind the scenes. He's just like this amazing networker, knows people in government, politics, and like businesses. And he's like professional artist, like all these amazing things. I'm like, what? You're behind Healy? He's like, he's not public. And I said to him, I said, why are you such a good networker? Like, what is the number one thing that makes you really good at networking? He says, I have an innate ability to add massive amounts of value to other people. And what you're doing here on the podcast and your content is like, you've got an exchange. It's all value. And when you've shown someone a value exchange of like, whether it is the peptides or whether it's like whatever it is, it's like, if you can show that value exchange, you give people what they want in business and you give consistently what they want, then that's going to eventually lead to success. And then you obviously got to charge for it as well, right? So, and double the price. What I'm learning here as well is doubling the price and doubling what the output really gave. What was it about that, do you think? Do you think people...
It was, it's a lot of things. So people always perceive something that's more expensive as something more valuable. So, you know, that everyone knows about that test of, what is it? You know, this experiment they did where they had three bottles of wine, and they all had the values on the front. One was, I'm making up numbers, one was $10, one was 30, and one was 100. So when the professionals were tasting it, the $10 bottle was like, it was all right. It's a bit metallic. You know, there's a couple of inconsistencies and impurities in it. The middle $30 one, it was nice. It was very good, great value for its buck. It was, really good bottle of wine. Then when they tested the $100 bottle, it's so rich. It's very vibrant. You can like taste the flavors open up in your mouth. Like it's a very good bottle of wine. What they didn't know was there was all the same fucking wine. Every single bottle was the same bottle, just they relabeled the bottles. And the lesson in that is, it's like, yes, to get someone to buy something that's more expensive, it's sometimes like you're going to get less people buying it, but your margins are going to be better for one, so you can make it a better product. Like my margins went from I think 50% to 80%. Now, oh, sorry. Yeah. From 50% to 80%. Now, for context, that extra, like that big difference, the margin actually, the money that was in my pocket actually 4x'd. I went from 500 to 2,000. So, that allowed me to not be stressed as much. So I didn't have to close people when I spoke to them. So I was like, yeah, like I charge this much. Like, oh, okay. And yeah, sometimes you have to do some follow-up, sometimes you don't. But the thing too is what happens is it's a multitude of things happen when you're charging more. One, I'm like, holy crap, I'm charging a lot of money. This better be fucking good. Two, they charge you, they're spending a lot of money, so they end up starting to convince themselves that it's better than it really is. It's just a biological and psychological thing that happens. Is it's like when you buy a Ferrari. No one logically buys a Ferrari. You emotionally buy a Ferrari, and then you justify it later to your friends and family. Well, you know, like these calipers, they're really fast, they're really good for the speed. That's why I spent an extra 10 grand, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was good. The guy actually did me a deal. He took off $20,000. It's like, mate, Barry, it was still $380,000. Okay. You didn't get a deal, but we do that. We emotionally buy shit and then rationalize it later. And so also with what I want to do, I mean, my product is month to month. I don't lock them into a contract. So they have this freedom about it. But what happens is they spend this money, then 4 weeks later, they spend it again, and we go and do another batch. Because they get all this like, holy crap, your videos are great by everyone else. They go, yeah, it is. Come back, Blake. And so each month I have to make sure that it's a good product. I need to be making slight nuances. There's more competitors coming in this area now that are doing more videos for significantly less. But the difference is now I'm like, all right, I can't just get away with talking heads. I need to slightly tweak it with something that I'm very good at, which is how do I bring out the personality that's unique so people actually like them. But yeah, definitely charging more. It's all about your margin. Stop driving your margin down. Do a couple that are maybe free or like cheap to get your examples like I did. Like I charged 2 grand, got one person, nailed it for her, increased that price straight away by 25%. Locked in another 3 people at that price, increased that price by another 20%. Locked in another 3 people at that price. And now I'm like, I mean, it's not bad. But the funny thing is, I'm charging, like I said, 3 grand for something I used to charge $1,000 for. The last 2 people that I spoke to for 3 grand both said, oh, good, I thought it would be more than that. What the fuck? You mean I can charge more than triple what I used to charge? You know, because, but again, it's like, I'm always doing strategies, which is like, how can I be seen? So like, I want people to know that's Blake's company. He does that shit. That's why I do the dad jokes. It was a strategy to be like, hey, I'll throw in a free video for you guys. I literally Googled dad jokes and then I just film it like that. I stole it completely from this other guy, Logan Isle. But it's so easy to shoot. And what happens then is it's like, now we do this collaborative post. It appears on their wall. It appears on my wall. And now everyone knows, oh, yeah, Blake does his content. I've seen that guy's face before. So I'm giving him something for free, yes, but it benefits me. So, and they're also like, you know what, this is great. Like, it's a funny little dad joke. Yay, Blake's including us. He's giving us something for free, but it's like, I'm the one who's winning from this. Because I'm marketing myself for next to nothing. So that, yeah, it's just, there's so many different ways you can create a business, but it only comes from testing shit out constantly. And also, again, knowing like I'm giving value. I'm giving a free video just for nothing, you know, but it has a purpose. I'm not just giving them a video that doesn't benefit me because that's just stupid. Why would I do that? So,
I think a couple points here is like yeah, obviously you got that great advice from the business friend of yours. I think having the right people in your social circle, the mastermind, where you can have those conversations where they're going to give you advice, as you said, that's really going to make the difference and you value there and they've got the results. Secondly, yeah, you've started to value yourself in that too. And then as you got the validation, you're like, fuck, like, okay, I'm going to be charging for this, which means I need to provide a higher level of value. And then you have to be more creative and so your product and impact actually gets more effective because of charging more. So the world's a better place. Yeah. Your bank's a better place, your family, right? And then we're now on a podcast and you're teaching these lessons to other people. It's just like, yeah, it's like self-belief is so important. I want to kind of, and you touched upon a couple of golden nuggets there of like your videos and adding value, but also making it work for you, making the win-win, I think there's a book that says start with profit or pay yourself first or whatever it is. It's really important. But on the social media, you've had 2 videos. One was like two massive videos go viral. One's your YouTube video with 2 million. The other one with Elon Musk was like up to nearly 7.7 million.
7.7.
Is there a methodology to this? Is there a method to the madness? Like what's like
look,
how?
There is, but there also is shitload of luck. Like so my editor, she's had like 70 million views or something on her channel so far. She's 17. And she found a method for her that like, all right, this works. So like put it in perspective. My editor who's 17 works like a fucking horse. Like she is the most reliable person I've ever met. And she's already making more than I was making when I was 25. So but she works and she doesn't fuck around, and she's teaching me constantly as well, so that's a big thing too. So like I pay her more than I need to, probably about 25% more than I should. But the thing that happens is, and this is where I don't have a problem paying it, is I'll send her stuff for like the podcast. Like my intern right now, she'll do the thumbnails, and my editor will be like, nah, this, you want to make sure of this. Then she'll give me freaking examples. I don't pay for that. So she's just giving all this stuff for free as well. So she's constantly giving value. And then also in return, so here's another way you should give value, not just to your customers. I think we always think about our customers, but never our staff. So with my staff, and I say this for people who have staff or don't, your most important customer is your staff. It's more important than your customers, because guess what? Without your staff, you can't deliver on your customers. And without good staff, you can't deliver great stuff to your customers. So with Jenny, instead of me going, hey, I need a second editor because, your workload's getting bigger, I'm going to find another one and then just pay them. I said to her, I'm like, here, I'm going to teach you how to find someone, teach you how to train them, and give you advice. Like I'm mentoring my own staff member to build a second editor for her. And I go, whatever he charges you, you take the spread. If he knocks out 80% of your work time and you get to take 80% home, fucking great. So I'm teaching her how to start a business within my business. Literally, it's multi-level marketing in my business. But what happened for her is like, that benefits me on so many fronts, because she's gone through 2 different editors. I didn't know about that. But she was like, he's unreliable. This guy was like, oh, just a nightmare. Great. Fantastic. But then like, she'll ask me like, hey, I need some advice on how to deal with this problem that we're having. And I'm like, you need to say this, this, and this. Set your expectations. Have like, focus on what he does well, but say, I know you can do better. We can do better. It's always we. Like, we have to be better for our clients. We have to be better. And so that's how I'm giving her value, which is like, here, I'll show you how to work 80% less and make just 20% less money, which is a win. So, and that's I think where a lot of people lose it as well, especially business owners. They're like, no, I want the whole pie to myself. The problem with that is you're forgetting that when you have the whole pie to yourself, you're the one who has to make that fucking pie. That's a lot of work. I'd rather teach someone how to build the next level in my business so I don't have to fucking worry. Now, then I would like to build it so eventually I've got enough work so I can hold them in there. But for now, it's just, you always have to start a business the exact same thing as a multi-level marketing company or network marketing, whatever you want to call it. So like my experience with network marketing it was fine. It was like, but one thing I noticed was It was fine as in like, it was enough that it got me to the next level in life I needed. I learned money mindset. I was like, oh, why do I shit on money all the time? So it shifted that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I want to fucking make 10 grand a week. Then I told like people in my circles and they're like, get realistic, Blake. And I'm like, oh, you're the wrong people. You're the wrong people. Okay. And then, yeah, I learned a bunch of other stuff. I learned I'm very good at sales at that time. But for me, there was other things where I was like, okay, for me, the vessel of network marketing wasn't right for me. It's fucking great for so many people. But if you don't try it, if you don't try everything, you don't know. You know, like I gave it a solid year and a half or something. But the thing was, I learned so much from it that if I never went into it, who knows where I would be, you know? And so I think, and again, I was always like, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. But then Nat was like, all right, bro. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll listen. But yeah, so but now I've learned that it's like, okay, how do I build a business with not much capital? I can't, which is literally what network marketing is. Like you're building a business by just becoming a salesperson to leverage stuff. And yeah, like otherwise I wouldn't be able to build a team like I'm building. And I'm still like, it's 3 people in my team. One's an intern, so she's free right now. But I said to her, I'm like, very specifically, you have to be self-sufficient to 80% in 12 weeks. And I'll be able to pay you what you're getting paid at your restaurant job. My goal is to get you out 100%. And then same with like I said, with Jenny, and I don't want to have to always be monitoring everybody. How can I teach her to teach them? And I'm like, look, here's the money you make. If you figure out how to leverage that, I'm all for it, dude. I don't care. All I care about as a business owner is delivery. I send you the clips to get edited. You send them back. I get some edits done. Yeah. Just, I want to buy myself time. So yeah, I think that's everything.
That's great. Yeah, for sure.
A lot's happened in a year, bro.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's it. And then it's just going to exponentially get better and better and better. And yeah, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating journey. I think business, obviously relationships is like one of the most powerful experiences for self-discovery and self-awareness and figuring out faults and learning about love and communication. And then you got like business is an amazing place for that as well. So yeah, this is it. We've covered a fair bit here, man. This is so good. I think the guy was like, what question did I ask you? Yeah, about the viral videos and building the team. And that's it.
Oh yeah, the viral videos. The whole thing is, it's just you just don't know, dude. You figure it out. There's techniques, but I mean, my Andrew Tate video has the same techniques, and it got like 4,000 views.
Right.
But then like the whole thing, so that Elon Musk video that has 7.7 million got 250 views on TikTok and 20 views on YouTube. So
you just can't pick it, eh?
No, you can't. And like, so look, I could post that again, and I will. I'll post that video again on YouTube Shorts later, and it could pop off.
Yeah.
So the only video that has ever gone viral on every single platform is the one that's going viral on YouTube right now. That got 600,000 on Instagram, 3 million on TikTok, and this will probably crack based on the analytics in the back end. Jenny thinks it's going to hit 10 million. I don't know about that. I mean, I like her optimism, but she knows a lot of shit about backends. But it's at 2 million now. So yeah, in terms of, you just got to be constantly putting shit out everywhere, because your goal, you want to do the Andrew Tate method, which is just have your face everywhere. You know, like I've got a meeting with someone this month, because his experience, this is how it's like you don't just post viral shit and make money. It's not how it works. There's a guy in one of my networking groups, Lux Networking.
Sorry to interrupt there. You just dropped a golden nugget, because I think a lot of people want to be viral so they earn the money. What was that point? So people who are viral, I've noticed some of these influencers, they don't make money or they make money on the deals afterwards, right?
Yeah, so you got to figure out how to make money elsewhere. So everyone thinks you make viral videos, you make money. Yes and no. So like YouTube Shorts, you get 5 cents per 1,000 views. So if you make 1 million views, you get $50. That's not going to change your life. Now that's on Shorts. Instagram, if you're selected, you get 10 cents. So that's $100 per million. And then you've got different variables on YouTube long form, which is traditional YouTube, and that can vary from $1 per 1,000 views to $20. If you're a financial channel, it's like 17 to $20 CPM. So if you've got CPM is like cost per milli, which is thousands. So if you get 1 million view video, you get 20 grand. But that's on the financial sector. If you're entertainment, it's closer to like 1 to 3. If you swear, closer to 1. There's all these variables that go into it. Where you make the real money is all the back end stuff. So like, affiliate links, all that other crap that everyone talks about. But how I've made this year, directly and indirectly 100 grand from my content, and most of my videos have like 3,000-4,000 views. But I've been strategic where I place them. And now, granted, I don't post and people go like, I'm going to pay you. I'm posting, so I'm constantly getting seen by people. But then I also am proactively on a networking groups, which there's a lot here. So I'm constantly seeing people, and then when I go back home, they get seeing me again on social media. And then they're like, man, he does really good videos. We should talk to him. Now, if you don't have to be a creator. You could be doing videos you're a home loan officer, you're a contractor or whatever, just constantly busted out content. So you're reminding people that you exist, but it has to be fucking good. It can't just be, I'm on Instagram and all those channels to be entertained. I'm not on Instagram to be like bored out of my fucking brain. So the story about Elon's video where it's had 7.7 million, a shitload of people have seen that. Like I know everyone who knows me has seen it. But I go to a networking group called Lux Networking, and there's this guy, David. So he has he looks like the little axe hobbit from Lord of the Rings, but he saw my video. He was like, oh, that's a cool point. Then he was talking to his neighbor 5 doors down, and his neighbor just randomly they were talking about something, I don't know what, but his neighbor goes, yeah, it's sort of like how Elon faked that Cybertruck thing, huh? And he's like, what did you say? And he goes, how he threw the ball and it faked it, and it was pretty good marketing. And the guy, David, was like, where did you see that? And he goes, oh, some guy from Australia was talking about it on socials. And he's like, he's not from Australia, I know him. Now, because of all that, now he wants to talk to me about doing content. So if I didn't know him, he's not going to reach out to me. And all my other clients, I'm constantly DMing people. I'm going, all right, who do I know? Who is in the people that I know, who do they know? And I'm doing all DMing, constantly doing cold outreach still, while also simultaneously doing all my marketing, doing the production, doing all the other shit, managing a family, like I said. Because if I don't do that, I've only had one person proactively reach out to me that turned into a client. And he's a very good one. He ends up being a very, everyone's like, man, your content's killing it. It's great. And we can tell, I think Blake does it, yada, yada. But the reason he proactively reached out to me was because he was seeing from the podcast, all these people he knew popping up on the podcast. And so, like most people, he reached out because he wanted to be on my podcast. And at the time, I didn't know him. So, I've always been very selective with my podcast, because you still want that to be a product where people want to listen to. But yeah, that ended up converting. That was the only time someone proactively reached out to me through social media that has converted. And that's across at least 200 posts in a year, at least. And that's 200 posts. For context, to edit one clip is about an hour and a half to 3 hours of editing of each one. So that also gives each podcast is like a solid, I do one a week. I probably do about 10 hours of editing a week just for that podcast that makes no money directly. Now I've got an editor, which knocks out a lot of hours, but still, yeah, it's a shitload of work that people don't really realize what it takes. But now I'm figuring out what I've always known the hard work part. I didn't know how to make money from the hard work part.
The smart work.
Now I'm figuring that out.
It is. There's so much behind the scenes that goes on, and yeah, having that team. You know, I've got a bit of a team forming, which is really cool, and their team's creating a bit of a team too. So it has like, I was like, oh, I can do more of what I love when I create a team. And that's really my goal for 2023 is like, how can I systemize this so I can do more of what I love, be more creative and add more value, and have the team with people that also love the things that they do with things that I don't necessarily like as much as well. But that's such a great piece of perspective that you just shared, because I think the social media influencer celebrity like thing is so murky, and I think there's so many lies behind the scenes. You know, all the Twitter stuff coming out now, and like, you know, being shadow banned for sharing things. Like, I'm constantly, my analytics goes down so much because I'm sharing things I'm also passionate about, you know, counter narrative. But I'm like, fuck it, this thing, I believe in this, I want to share it. So that's also an interesting point. Yeah. Do you find you were about to share a story a minute ago and then I interrupted?
What was it?
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, oh, I was like, share the story. You said, you know, you have to find another way to make money outside of just going viral. Like my friend who's been getting really, really big on Reels wasn't really getting anywhere. He wasn't able to he was doing some like sponsored posts, and he was getting out with a little bit of coaching that he was doing for Reels and social media. And now he's created his own agency. And so now he's making a lot of money from that. And he's like, oh my gosh. So he's doing videos more out of like, same thing. He has the body of work where people now see, oh, cool. Like he's not just like making it up. But yeah,
like I did touch on that. So like me to get clients still requires a shitload of other work. It's not like I make a viral video and I make clients come to me.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. And that's, I mean, look, I've always joked around, like, I wish I had a product that I could sell, because I sell making videos. So a lot of people are like, we don't really know what you're talking about, Blake. But what happens is I'm learning constantly how to market and my goal this year, and it's going to next year, is how do I become a compelling storyteller? And this hurricane video coming out on Wednesday will be the first one, where it's like, okay, how do I make people just go, holy shit, I need to know what comes next? And so that for me is like, all right, how do I keep getting better at that? Then when I have something to sell, I'll be very fucking good at it. Or if someone wants to pay me for it, I can charge an ultimate premium, because it's like, you can't just find someone who's good at telling stories. It's a hard thing. And trust me, it's hard.
That adds a whole nother layer to it, doesn't it? It's not just putting up a video and doing your reels, or you know, adding some music to some video stuff, which is like what I've been playing with. There's a whole nother level of skill set, which is the cool thing. It's like the acting, you know, you're a musician as well, right? I remember that gig that you did in
used
Sydney.
To be an actor as well. Oh yeah,
and an actor, like, you know, I think it's cool. Now I'm also collaborating with some other like personal development companies that are also making movies. And I'm like, maybe my acting thing's going to get back on board and start doing movies with organizations around personal development. I'm like, that freaking excites me. And now you're like getting into storytelling and adding that on top of it. So it's like that creative essence.
Yeah.
That's really
storytelling is the ones who are the better storytellers are the ones who end up having more gravitas. Like, you think about, like, whatever your religious views are, the Bible, I'm not sure about any other ones because I haven't read any other ones, like the Quran or anything, but for me, the Bible has the most soul penetrating stories. That's why they survived 2,000 plus years, you know. Like the story, I always use the example of, like, I'm probably the most passionately non-religious Bible lover, if that makes sense. Like, I don't believe in the Bible, but I believe in the stories and the motifs and lessons they tell. Like, one story is the story of David and Goliath. we always think that bigger and stronger will win. And so that's what everyone thought. Like, Goliath's going to come through. He kills everyone. He's big. He's strong. He can take over anyone. But the truth is that precision beats power. And that's what David was. David didn't need to be big and strong. He just needed a rock with a little thing, and he needed to know exactly where to hit. And so his precision took down this massive Goliath. So that is a story that penetrates the soul, because every human is the same at the end of the day. We all, like, you speak to anyone, all right, put a big guy next to a small guy. Who do you think will win that fight? Dude, unless someone goes, I have a feeling you're doing a trick question, everyone will say the big guy, because we're all programmed to think that way. And so that story has an inbuilt lesson that taps into our false beliefs. And that's why it's something that was like so amazing for people, and why it traveled down generation after generation verbally, was because it was his story about this massive giant. He got taken down by a tiny rock. You're like, what? How? Well, this is what happened, And so the ability to tell a story will always captivate more people. That's why we can sit down and watch freaking 2-hour movie, because it's a great storytelling. So many hours go into it.
Absolutely.
So if there's one thing, if you want to have more friends, if you want to be more impactful, become a good storyteller. Because I don't know if you've ever hung out with someone and they tell you a story and it's all monotone, and then the other day I saw my aunt. I'd say, I want to, like, sweet. It's a shame the guns are legal here, because I'm about to go kill myself. If I was in Australia, it'd be harder to get. But yeah, that was our thing this year. It was just like, yeah, how do we impact people in a way? And then the hurricane came, and I was like, that's a story.
That's a story. Yeah. No, that's so interesting there as well. I think oh gosh, yeah, you brought up the Bible piece. Like, I never read the Bible. I don't get super excited to read it, but the stories in there are timeless. They are. They hit the soul, and they're metaphors or truth or whatever. It doesn't even matter. They are powerful stories. And yeah, it's the most famous book in the whole world. It's a personal development book. It's for health, wealth, relationships, spirituality, everything. I haven't read the other ones. I know there's other parts of the Bible that weren't there, like the Book of Enoch and some other books that were, kind of lost to the Dead Sea Scrolls as well. But when I saw someone who had like this demonic possession, this is like totally off topic. My friend had all this like hitting himself, speaking this weird language, and my friend used the words from the Bible, and we weren't touching him, but as he was hitting himself, his body like connected like this, and he fell over. We had to catch him, and from just the scripture in the Bible, I was like, and I saw this in flesh, and I was like, okay, maybe there's something more to this Bible thing, all those movies and stuff, it must be coming from somewhere. But yeah, so now that's really, really interesting. Religion has bastardized the Bible and things like that. Definitely.
Yeah, well, politics
religious.
Fucked it up. Yeah. Politics have always fucked it up. Like,
religion
politicians
killed Jesus, apparently. Like, the religious structures then killed Jesus, and that was like the whole battle. Even the English language waters down. Like, I've tried to go to church. I don't really resonate with how watered down it is, personally. I love the community and the intention, but when they're praying for like Ukraine, like, sure, they're praying for these big global issues, and I'm just like, they're not really telling the truth here. It's just watered down.
Well, the thing that I quickly looked through as well is, like, there's a part in the Bible that taps into the importance of your body. Your body's a temple, that sort of thing. And gluttony is one of the seven deadly sins, 9 deadly sins, whatever it is. Going to churches here in America, where everyone's fucking wobbling to walk,
because
they don't mention that section. Yeah, they don't mention those sections in the Bible, because there's that little bit going, I don't want to, like, I'm going to tell them still what they want to hear, which is like, there's evil out there. There's people trying to like push transsexual people into our children's schools. Yeah, fuck them. Let's just not focus on the fact that you fatties need to lose weight. Like, they, you know, like
Yeah.
they don't tell the whole thing.
Yep.
And so, I mean,
A
I've gotten
half
in
truth
fight.
is a full lie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've gotten into disagreements. A lot of people that are like, you know, they push a certain part of the Bible. You know, typically it's always like the gays and the trans. And I'm like, all right,
Right.
cool. But what about being fat? Well, you know, you've got to try. And I'm just like, well, can people just try and not be gay? Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
cool, he fails every day, whatever. Who gives a shit? But like, why is it okay to fail every day to be fat, but it's not okay to fail every day and be gay? Like, you're picking and choosing, like,
Yeah.
and the whole gay things anyway, it's not even accurate in the Bible anyway, but
That's it. And well,
but
yeah, and it's
you
not
know,
up to our human mind deciphering this book. It's like at the end of the day, it's not up to us. Like, so, the whole politics backwards and forwards, of whatever the afterlife is, it's not up to some person's interpretation of the freaking Bible, and then people
yeah.
live by it. Gosh, even like I've been learning about like the Aramaic. So like the Bible was written in other languages other than English. And there might
Mm,
be one word with like 3 or 4 meanings of that one word, but they've used certain
mm,
words. So the real meaning behind it, like I read, like the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven. I read the original in Aramaic, and I read it, and I had tears. I was like, that is why I have like an interest in wanting to learn this. It wasn't the English version; it was like the original. I was like, it hit my soul. So
yeah.
that's kind of and bit of a tangent there, guys. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's
Um,
just, again, it's like I'm a big believer in stories, and I think people,
yeah.
it comes back to, again, compartmentalizing. Oh,
Mm,
I don't like that part of that one person, so I'm going to ignore the rest of them. All
mm,
right, well, the rest of them, like, you can learn a lot about business from criminals, because criminals, they have to be very creative, because a criminal can't get caught once. Whereas for you to be successful in business, you have to be right once. To be a
yeah.
successful criminal, you have to be right 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I don't agree with selling drugs, but how are you selling drugs and doing it in a very efficient way?
Yeah.
How can I use that to go into my business? And so I think it's that compartmentalization from the Bible. Again, not religious. Don't believe in there's a big dude with a beard in the sky. I don't
Yeah.
believe in that.
Neither.
But what
Mm,
I do thoroughly enjoy is the stories and the lessons in the Bible that actually do translate into life lessons in my life. Like that one where the 2 sons get given half of their dad's wealth. One goes and parties it off and goes, fuck that, whatever. The other one stays back and works. And then he comes back, he goes, and his father goes, don't worry. And then the other son's pissed off. That's a beautiful real life story, because you can put yourself in all 3 of those things. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, he's my son. I'm going to look after him. The son made a mistake, came back looking for salvation from his dad. And then the one who didn't fuck it all up is like, are you kidding me? I could have just gone and blown all the money, and I'd be in the same spot, but I was trying to be fiscally responsible.
yeah.
Like, that is a cool story, which taps into so many things that happen in our lives, And so, again, I don't get caught up with people that preach their crap about religion and push it on me, but because I'm like, I actually really like those stories too, because that helps me in other parts of my life.
Yeah.
But I hate going to church, straight up. Can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
pray, like, I don't do any of that stuff.
Mm,
And
mm,
so I think another lesson for you is just, there's always, again, there's good and there's bad in everything. That don't shun the good in something because you're only focusing on the bad, and don't ignore the bad just because you're focusing on the good, like I did during the hurricanes.
mm.
So we can end on that if you want.
Yeah, that's beautiful. 100%. That's the mic drop right there. Everyone connect with Blake. You can check him out on Instagram. I'm Blake Doyle, one word. I'll put it somewhere around this video, and also skymediahouse.com. Any final comments, bro?
Nah, just do more shit, figure it out, and just constantly evaluate is the trick. Like, you have to be looking backwards in a mathematical way just as much as you look forwards.
Love it. Thanks for this amazing chat, bro. I look forward to seeing
Thanks,
you in
dude. Thanks for having
America.
me.
I'll be over there in
Yeah,
a
it's
few months.
9:30 p.m. now. I need to go home and go to bed. I've got a challenge. I'll be in bed by 10, and I'm already gonna fail at first night. Fuck.
Oh gosh. Um, awesome. I'll see you soon. Thanks so much,
Sweet.
bro.
Thanks, dude.
All right.
Peace out. Bye.
Bye.